Welcome back. This is the Intel on eNCA. Let's continue our discussion on the African Continental Free Trade Area with the Secretary General of the AfCFTA, that's Wamkele Mene, joining me. So we were talking about, at the heart of it all is to break down barriers to trade, and I saw that you were talking. A document talks about 90% of all, tariffs. Tariffs, I imagine, would be one of those barriers to trade.
Yes.
Just give me a picture. What are these barriers, and what is the reasoning why countries put barriers to something as desirable as trade with their neighbors?
Well, we have essentially two types of barriers. We have tariff barriers, which are easy to eliminate because you can introduce a transition period. You say in 5 years' time, tariffs on automobiles should be zero. So each country will reduce until you reach zero. Then we have the more difficult barriers to trade, and that is the non-tariff barriers, regulations, laws that restrict trade coming in from other countries. The problem we have in Africa, we are more trade connected with Europe and other parts of the world than amongst ourselves. That's in part why intra-Africa trade is so low. And so through this agreement, we are seeking to change the pattern of trade in respect of Africa and third parties. Obviously, no one is saying that we should disconnect from global value chains, but we have to do more trade amongst one another to be more self-sufficient as a continent, to enhance our industrial development, to make sure that we create opportunities amongst ourselves, and to reduce the over-reliance on the export of primary commodities to the rest of the world, which is what has kept us trapped in what I call a colonial economic model of continued exports of primary commodities.
So practically, what does this mean for a woman sitting in Rwanda in Zimbabwe hoping to trade, products that they make out of that unique cloth that they have in that country, and perhaps send it and ship it off to Ghana, where you are based?
Absolutely. We are now opening up a market. If you are in SADC, in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, this agreement offers an entirely new market of 1.3 billion people with a combined GDP of 3.4 trillion United States dollars today, which in 15, 20 years' time is projected to be close to 8 trillion United States dollars. So we are providing a potentially significant new market that didn't exist before. If you are in SADC, if you are in ECOWAS, we are now connecting ECOWAS to East Africa, which did not exist before. And this, I've been emphasizing that this agreement must benefit small, medium enterprises. It must benefit young entrepreneurs. Because if it does not, if it benefits only the big corporations, and they don't need me. The big corporations, we've opened the market, they can go in there the following day. The people that will really, where this agreement will make a big difference, are the small, medium enterprises and young entrepreneurs.
How much of an additional barrier is the issue of infrastructure within the continent? And I'll tell you why I ask. The time that it takes, for example, to get goods across Bridge border post, for example. I imagine that must be one of the concerns. There are a few one-stop border posts that have been established within the SADC region, and I believe there's one between Rwanda and the DRC, but generally that's not the practice. But also in terms of rail and road infrastructure to move these goods within the continent, how much of a barrier is that?
It's a significant barrier. The challenge is for us to complement what we have achieved at law, and that is the trade facilitation measures, the transit measures in the AfCFTA, to complement that with the right infrastructure at the borders. I was at the border with Nigeria and Niger. I was also at the border with Zambia and DRC in Kasumbalesa. And there were trucks that were lined up 5, 6, 7 kilometers because of the lack of appropriate border infrastructure, border customs procedures. If we get the right investment, and AfCFTA, a critical partner, is now stepping up and providing the investment that is required to make sure that we have dry ports, to make sure that we have infrastructure at the border, whether it's soft or hard infrastructure. These are things that concrete steps that we can take.
All right, Wamkele Mene, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this conversation with you, and the passion shines through there with the Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area, Wamkele Mene. You're watching the eNCA.